Please listen carefully.
Welcome to the Cultural Stew Podcast, coming to you from the Goat Factory Media Entertainment Studios. We are your cultural media recommendation podcast, giving you our take on what we think is worth carving your time out for, and also what we think you can pass on and maybe go cut that lawn instead. Warning, we use adult language, and there may be spoilers ahead. Hello and welcome. My name is Ron Herkins Jr. for the week of March 25th, 2018. I am your host today with my co-hosts,
Tony Carter
and Valerie Vidmar.
Hello and welcome. How are you guys today?
I'm all right.
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I've had a pretty busy week. Did a couple things this week. What'd you do interesting, Valerie?
You're going to start out with your busy week and then a busy week. We finished our construction. We had a dishwasher incident last May. Okay, can we just put that? Last May.
Last May.
So
wow, almost a year.
Rained into our basement.
And we had almost like one of the busiest wet seasons too.
It was awful. So we had carpet ripped up all over our house, and it sucked. So for about almost 8 weeks, we've been under construction. They totally gutted 3/4 of our upstairs, and it's completed now.
Ouch.
We have a new kitchen.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Backsplash decisions are hard. That's my takeaway, which is a first world problem.
Yeah.
Moving on.
I took some photos this week for Jiva's latest show opening, Heartland, and then went over to Blackfriars Theater and did a video promo for them for When We Were Young and Unafraid. And then I got a treadmill in the last 2 weeks, and so I'm trying to get back into running and get some of this weight off now that spring is officially here on the calendar, but not officially here in the weather.
How far are you running on the treadmill so far?
Not very far yet.
I always have to do the couch to 5K thing. Yeah. Works for me.
I'm just doing the no holds barred, just jump in and try something.
Makes sense.
How about you, Tony?
Let's see. This past yesterday, I went on a egg drop at my church in Lima. So basically, a helicopter drops 10,000 eggs onto the field, and little kids go running.
10,000 plastic eggs?
Plastic eggs, yes.
10,000?
Yeah.
How many people are at your church?
We had 2 groups, 0 through 5-year-olds, and then 1st through 5th graders. So Marnie and I were running out there, and we almost got trampled by little kids and their parents with buckets of plastic eggs already caught. And then I went down to help Marnie get some, and kids were pinching my hands, lifting my hands up. I got run into my butt and got my feet tackled. And Marnie got 1 egg out of the whole experience. One egg.
That's terrible.
And we had kids beside us with buckets full of eggs. So, yeah, it was preposterous. And next year, I'm going to teach Marnie how to clothesline. So,
you start setting those WWE films. This is the proper way to do it.
It was too much. I mean, she started crying, and I felt bad. I said, "This is my egg," and the kid said, "No." I'm like, "Yes." And
what are in the eggs?
They're just plastic eggs with little Tootsie Rolls in them. But,
that's it? Tootsie Rolls?
Little Tootsie Rolls, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, kids had little plastic buckets of 30 or more in the buckets, and I'm like, "Guys, I just want one, and you're going to run over me for 1 egg." And yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Boy.
Kids are cruel.
Yes.
Even at Easter time.
Yeah. Well, today's docket, we're going to go through some of the news that we care about. We're going to go through our recommendations of the week. Valerie is going to go over Love, Simon. Anthony has Camp X-Ray, and I'm going to go back and with a movie I just watched called Spy. I don't know how I missed that one, but it was a good movie. Today's stew is on film and its attempt to portray authentic relationships, and our media that's tied in with that is the Squid and the Whale from 2005. So, well, how about the news that we care about?
Wow.
Oh, some new trailers came out this week. We have the new Jeremy Renner, John Hamm film, Tag.
Please tell me what's going on here.
Our group of friends has been playing the same game of tag for 30 years.
What?
For the entire month of May, every year we play tag. You punched me. You never know when someone's going to pop up.
Congratulations, buddy. You're in.
Doing great, Anna. Our buddy Jerry is the best that ever played, and now he wants to retire. Never been tagged.
I just don't know. I saw this trailer. What was it? Tuesday it came out.
Right. Yes.
I think it
haven't
looks
seen it.
hilarious. Jeremy Renner, you know, the
fantastic.
fantastic tough guy, spy type guy, and you know they're playing tag for 30 years, and
I'm a John Hamm girl.
You'll like him in this. He's good in this.
it looks good, and it's got Ilsa Fisher.
Yes. It's good.
in it as well.
I read the original article from this. Was based on in 2013, so that's a long time ago. I read the article in the Wall Street Journal, and I loved it. And I want to snatch it up for myself to write, but then someone else got it. And it's been through so many actors and turnarounds, but I'm glad it's out now. It's exciting. I read a lot, people, so reading is fundamental.
Reading is fundamental.
Also came out this week is the new Action Point trailer with Johnny Knoxville, kind of loosely based on the there is an amusement park outside of Jersey that was basically like the world's worst amusement park. There was like no safety, no danger, anything in that. But for some reason, this showed up after Tag, and I just rolled right into it, and I was laughing the whole time.
So it's like a Jackass thing.
Well, you have the Johnny Knoxville of like the Jackass fame that is just like all his own stunts, gets injured and everything. Well, they actually incorporate it into the film. So it's actually like a film that's trying to take itself a little bit somewhat serious but funny, but they're doing all their own stunts on it. And it's just, I don't know. It was just one of those.
Originally do their own stunts?
They did.
Yes. But Johnny has walked away from doing his own stunts for a while now.
Yeah,
They've all got some serious issues.
Ugh. Yeah.
But it was just the story of that amusement park. And I know this is the satire version of that, but has always intrigued me. It was just like how like this was before any safety guidelines were ever put in place for like.
Is it still in operation?
No, it's been closed for a very, very long time. So
Okay.
it was like late 70s, early 80s, I think.
So this movie takes place then?
80s-ish, I think.
Okay.
Like right at the tail end of when it was closing.
Okay, got it.
And we also had Cobra Kai trailer come out.
Banzai! Daniel LaRusso here for LaRusso Auto. We are chopping prices on all of our inventory. Yeah. Johnny? I knew it was you. This is Johnny Lawrence. He and I go way back.
Oh, this is a guy whose ass you kicked.
If you want to get technical, I kicked his face.
Valerie's shaking her head the whole time.
I mean, Karate Kid people, if you didn't pick that up, we got some Karate Kid love going on. And he turned into a jerk, I guess.
There's a theory out that Danny is actually the real villain of Karate Kid. There's a YouTube video or something like out there talking about how Danny's really the true bad guy in the
Why?
series.
How? Because he helps out an old man.
I feel there's always
and
like
stands
some-
up to bullies.
No.
There's always some kind of theory out there somewhere of like anything that's a beloved series that kind of turns it on the end.
Right.
It's just
They just
people
don't
wanna
like
do
Ralph
it.
Macchio.
I don't know about this. It looks confused. It's like they turned everything around. Like Johnny seems to have he seems to have a heart. It may be twisted, but trying to help people, but in a weird way by reinventing or restarting his.
Well, except that he's doing it the same way as he was taught. So, no mercy.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
he's also
Johnny.
helping people who are
Switch
bullied.
the leg.
Not be bullied. It's just confusing.
But then at the end of the trailer, you start seeing the two of them
right.
Now they're going to start
facing off against each
off.
other, and it's like,
Come on.
we're too old for this. Well, duh.
Yeah. Right.
No kidding.
But I don't know where I stand with this. Probably not going to watch it.
Yeah, it's
but
confusing.
trailer's about enough for me. News out of South by Southwest, Ready Player One and A Quiet Place are getting pretty rave reviews, especially A Quiet Place. That's the one with John, the one from The Office.
John Krasinski.
Thank you, John Krasinski.
Oh, yes.
And Emily Blunt.
I saw that trailer.
But it's been getting...
Didn't they shoot that around here, like upstate New York? I think I read that they shot that around, not in Rochester, but around our parts. I can look that up for next week. But
That would have been good for this week.
I think they were shooting.
Quickly, Google quickly.
I'll get to it. We'll find
What
out.
else? What else news do we got there?
Well, speaking of South by Southwest, apparently Robert Rodriguez had an experimental web series he's doing, and he gave 5 people the chance to recreate his journey into filmmaking. So he gave them $7,000 and 2 weeks, and they can have a +1, and they were tasked with making their own movie, their own feature film in that amount of time. And the web series follows their journey, and their films are supposed to premiere at the South by Southwest Festival.
I'm sorry. Do you feel like you missed out on that
I
opportunity?
didn't know anything about it.
How are you supposed to find these things out?
I guess stay on the internet, I guess. I don't know. Or just follow his tweets. I don't do that. I have a life. But
There's been a couple of these profile or high profile name ones. Most notably has been the Matt Damon and
Project
Ben
Greenlight.
Affleck Project Greenlight, and then Steven Spielberg's had one on that was actually on TV. It was basically a
Missed that one.
weekly show.
what was it called? I think
I can't even remember the name of it.
I missed
But it was a weekly elimination show, so you'd make a short basically each week to win the prize. But it was Steven Spielberg was completely behind it. That was only on 1 year.
right.
But Project Greenlight was the one that actually had a longer life term. It was rumored to come back, and then ended up canceling, not having enough interest in it. And that's interesting that the Robert Rodriguez thing came up. But it's only a $7,000 budget.
You can do a lot with that kind of money.
Well, you can, but
Well, these days you can. I mean, you use smartphones and
compared to the budgets that they had for the other two
yes.
contests, it's
Speaking
pretty
of-
paltry.
Steven Spielberg.
Yes, Indiana Jones.
5.
I'm not. I love Indiana Jones. I love Steven Spielberg. I'm not looking forward to a 5.
They're supposed to be. I think I was hearing them say resurrect the film, just bring it back, like
What are they going to do with this? Do we know?
not repeat Crystal Skull. I hope.
God.
I couldn't watch it. I just stopped watching after the whole refrigerator tumble, and I said I can't. And I saw snippets of it here and there, but I just couldn't wrap my head around it at all.
When are we going to get a trailer for this?
Yeah,
Well, he doesn't start filming until next May, so
next-
it's not coming out until
the story-
2020.
yeah. The story has time to be good. It has time to be good.
Do we know who signed on?
Harrison,
and that's it?
Shia probably.
No.
No. Shia is not coming back to the series. I know. I've
Thank
heard that
God.
for a little while.
Thank goodness.
So the question is, are they gonna pass the reins off to anybody, or are they just gonna let it die? Because Harrison is
Yeah,
nearing 80.
I think so. Yeah, how about that?
Who would you want? Who would you want? Who would you want? I'm trying to think.
I think we just need to end it. I mean, the Soviets were in the last one, right? So who's next?
Yeah, we've been moving up in time because they've been trying to keep up with Indy's age.
I don't know.
There's no one left. So the Soviets are still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll
yeah.
see what happens, I guess.
I would like. It would be nice for them to stick somebody else in there, and maybe they do it in a way that Indiana Jones has flashbacks,
Right.
and we're actually living in Indiana Jones, in the same way that like how River Phoenix came in for Indiana Jones' Last Crusade. They use that same mentality of Indiana Jones. Harrison Ford is telling the story of when he was, somewhere in between Raiders of the Lost Ark and Temple of Doom, kind of thing. But that would be a way for them to continue the franchise.
We'll see.
Any other news? That wrap it up.
They're doing a Men in Black reboot with, let's see, Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth. They're going to reboot the whole thing with those two.
Oh.
That's F. Gary Gray in director's chair. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Men in Black, but they're redoing it, and it has to be better than Men in Black 2.
I liked the first one, and that was it.
Yeah, so
I
did
was
I.
ready for it to be done. But
We'll see what happens. Tessa Thompson's in it, so I'll be watching that.
all right, well, that wraps up our news, and we're going to roll into our recommendation list. First up is Valerie with
Love, Simon.
My name's Simon. I'm just like you, except I have one huge-ass secret.
Hey! I like your boots! I said I like your boots! Goodbye!
Nobody knows I'm gay.
Okay, don't base going to see that on liking someone's boots. So this is They keep calling it a rom-com, a gay rom-com. It's, to me, it wasn't. It was a teenage coming of age. That's the way I saw it. And they kept saying, oh, it's a John Hughes-esque kind of thing. So we do have some John Hughes qualities. So we have Simon, who's played by Nick Robinson, who was in Jurassic World. He does have great parents, so that doesn't really work out as an 80s thing. He has his own little group of friends. They have a great soundtrack that follows through the whole thing. I did notice that one. There is a parentless house party. So that happens, which normally happens. And then there's an wait and see moment at the end. Is this all going to end in a good way or a bad way? This is the first major film that featured a gay lead character. It was wide release, 2,400 theaters. So it was a big deal. The storyline is obviously nobody knows he's gay. And he finds out that there is another gay kid through a message board, basically. And so he writes him back after having a very moment where he like touches the picture of his family, realizing that everything is going to change. He makes a big deal in the beginning of how much he loves his life, and he hasn't wanted to come out because he doesn't want anything to change, which I think makes a lot of sense. So he has his little group of friends, and he doesn't tell anybody, and he has this pen pal that goes back and forth, and he starts falling for him. And one of his classmate theater nerds got into his computer, always log out, kids, and finds these letters and blackmails him into saying, unless you set me up with one of your friends, I'm going to tell everybody, because that's equally weighted by changing your life. That was annoying to me. Anyway, but he eventually does get outed. So that was not his choice. That's where it got me. So when we find out that everything has come out and his friends are confused and he keeps getting calls and then his pen pal says, I'm sorry, I'm out. Everything just basically falls apart. The music crescendos and he falls into his bed. It's like everything crashed around him. That's where I started crying. So I cried for a while there. It does have a happy ending. I will say that. I know that we're not doing, we can do spoilers if we want to, but I don't really feel like it, except to say that it was a happy ending. The one thing that was interesting, you are dealing with some pretty immature kids. So he has his friends that basically desert him. They get pissed off over something stupid, so they don't stand by him, and his parents do.
How old is he supposed to be?
He's a senior in high school.
Oh. Kids are generally immature to begin with, so.
It was just kind of like, seriously? Because basically, normally it's the parents kick you out, and your friends take you in, and they become your family, and this, he has the lovely parents played by Jennifer Garner and Josh Duhamel. And Jennifer Garner does that lovely speech where he's able to finally be himself more than anything. So I went to go see this because I was going to go see it anyway. But you guys remember Dustin, who came in for the Oscar show?
Yep.
Dustin and his husband went to go see this movie, and it affected him pretty deeply. And he basically said that if they would have had that type of film when they were growing up, coming out, would have been a lot easier. They didn't see any character on this wide release, huge screen where everything is okay, gay is okay, everything's going to be fine.
I think that's a sign of the times, though, too. We're now in a generally widely more accepted for that type of person to be okay with living.
He grew up in Kansas. We did.
Yeah.
So his wish is that I don't even know. I'm hoping that it plays in Kansas. You don't know sometime.
It's one place.
He's hoping that kids in Kansas go and hopefully it makes a difference in their lives. Actually,
but I mean, you look at my age, your age, Dustin's age. We're of the age where the parents that you watched in the movie are basically portraying with a senior kid.
Right.
So we're a generation that has now been a generation removed from the generation before. So we are a much more accepting generation that came before us. So that movie couldn't have existed. True.
I mean, Greg Berlanti, who was the director of this movie, he's the one, The Flash, Supergirl, Riverdale. He actually, he was the director of Dawson's Creek. Don't laugh.
I'm sorry. I'm just going back to the...
Yeah.
He actually threatened to quit until the two male characters could share their first kiss. It was the first network televisions of two gay characters kissing.
Whoa. What? Say again?
Okay. What? Greg Berlanti was on Dawson's. He was with Dawson's Creek.
Right.
And he threatened to quit because he wanted the two gay characters to kiss, to have their first kiss. And they didn't want to do it.
The actors or the network?
The network.
Did they end up doing it?
Yes. It was the first network.
Keep going. Sorry, I'm hearing my brain's conflicting with that information.
I thought Will and Grace was the first.
I thought Buffy was the first.
Male?
Were they male?
No, they were female.
No, this is male.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Backtrack.
Yeah, these are male. And a little trivia is that Nick Robinson's brother came out during the filming of the movie. So I thought that was pretty interesting too. So it's an important film right now. I mean, they made it lighthearted. There's some emotions that get triggered. I had some big emotions triggered.
Any emotions triggered with Boots?
No, nothing with Boots. Nothing. That was such. That's again. I wanted to be a trailer person. I would not have put that in the trailer. But anyway, yeah, go see it. Go see it. I think everybody, high school, older, I don't know, junior high, maybe not yet, maybe 8th grade, I guess. But I would say go with your parents. Parents, go. It's a good one, but it's not in your face, people. Don't worry.
Okay. Thank you, Valerie.
Mm-hmm.
I had the opportunity. This week has been very busy for me, so I didn't get any of my movie watching in until yesterday. And I just happened to be browsing through and saw a movie that I wanted to see for quite some time, and it just wasn't available until now.
Can you imagine me as a spy?
With a gun.
What? These look delicious.
Cool.
This is very chewy.
You're eating a hand towel.
Just cleansing my palate. When I joined the CIA, I thought I was going to be this amazing spy. I'm just the same boring person I was before.
You play it too safe.
I just hear my mom's voice. Give up on your dreams, Susan. Just to write that in my lunchbox.
I probably spent 95% of this movie just cracking up. The movie being Spy with Melissa McCarthy at probably the best I've seen her. She basically starts off the movie as a CIA handler in the basement for Jude Law's character, who is the epitome of a Bond-esque type spy. Does everything right, but he's constantly getting the feedback from Melissa McCarthy. And come to find out, Jude Law's character gets killed by the evil villain as they're trying to figure out where this nuclear bomb is, and they put Melissa McCarthy into the field as a spy, even though she was completely untrained. And it ends up being this hilarious romp with Melissa McCarthy just actually succeeding in everything she does as a spy, but kind of in goofy ways. And the whole time being interjected by Jason Statham's character as the guy who wanted to go into the field, but they said he couldn't go into the field and he was supposed to be off this case. And so he's constantly interjecting himself, telling Melissa McCarthy that she's going to screw up everything. And it actually ends up being Jason Statham screwing up everything the whole time. So anybody who knows Jason Statham, he's a huge action character, and he's the epitome of like full blown, hardcore action. And it's great to watch the comedic interaction in between Melissa and Jason the whole time, and Jason becoming the side character and Melissa being the numero uno in this film. It's directed by Paul Feig. I just think the whole film was a riot to me. It was one of the few films that when it came to a close, I'm like, I could sit here and watch another half an hour more of this movie because it was so well written. The comedic timing was on par. Rose Byrne plays the villain, and Bobby Cannavale pops in as another villain. And he's just, when you first see him, he's just got this really dark tan, and it's just like, it took me for a second to figure out, oh, that's who that is. Okay. Pros, yeah, I really enjoyed the comedic aspect between Melissa and Jason, who is not known as a comedy guy. Jude Law sticks to Jude Law's acting chops, but he's got a little bit of comedic in there that is I'm glad to see come out. My only downfall of the movie was that it was indeed felt like too short, and why has there not been a second movie? This came out in 2015.
I don't know.
There should be another movie out already with this.
What was Paul been up to?
He's directed a couple movies. Off the top of my head, I'm blanking here.
You know who the writer is?
I'm sure Google could tell me.
Okay. Well, yeah. Sometimes people are smart not to do sequels. Sometimes they just don't think there's enough traction to pull it, and sometimes they wait until the right time to.
What was the take-in at the box office? Do we know? That was you don't have that at the tip of your tongue.
I heard it was pretty good. Actually.
I think so too. I feel like.
But
I
Melissa
saw it.
is transitioning. I'm not sure if people know or not. I've been realizing, but Melissa's slowly transitioning from comedic to more serious roles. So that could play a part in it too. She wants to be taking it more seriously.
He directed Ghostbusters with Melissa McCarthy in it too.
Well, so she.
His favorite.
And Bridesmaids. So
yeah,
the two of them have a pretty working relationship there.
She was on Gilmore Girls. I think that's where she got her start, right?
I think so too, yeah.
She's funny on there.
He hasn't directed anything since Ghostbusters. Interesting.
Okay.
Ghostbusters was blah.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, you didn't miss much.
And
so next up, Anthony. So my recommendation on that is
go.
If you need some good entertainment, lighthearted entertainment, it's playing on Fox or FX movies right now. So if you have streaming, you can catch it through the streaming. It's good just to take your mind off of all the other crap that goes on in the world, especially the last couple weeks. So up next, Anthony with
Camp X-Ray.
Honor bound. Some of these guys have been locked up in here for 8 years. You will refer to them as detainees. You will not call them prisoners.
You can talk to them, but do not let these guys know anything about you. Do not let them get inside your head.
This film kind of snuck up on me a little bit. I think I'm in a minority here. I like Kristen Stewart a lot. I mean, I've been watching her since Twilight, and I was cringing the whole time. She was also in, what's that film with Jodie Foster? I think it's one of her first films she did. But I've been watching her for a long time. Twilight kind of disappointed me on many levels, and then slowly but surely, Kristen Stewart's been proving herself to be a pretty...
She's a personal shopper.
Yeah, that too.
That was good.
I would say she's getting better. I don't have an adjective for that yet, but she's impressing me, which is good. Camp X-Ray.
When was this?
2014. So that's still when Guantanamo Bay was still open and pumping out and doing its thing and dividing the country a lot. But Camp X-Ray is about two people at Gitmo, who one's a soldier, who's Kristen Stewart. She's Private Cole. And we have a detainee, Ali, who's from Germany. And it's how these two connect over the matter of months. And as you heard in the trailer clip, they're not supposed to talk to each other. They're not supposed to connect at all. But somehow they do. And it's over a book, Harry Potter. So Ali's character has read all the Harry Potter books over and over and over again. And he's waiting for the last book. And they keep saying it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. But he says, but the story just stops. So there has to be an ending. And spoiler alert, at the end of the book, at the end of the story, the film, she gets him the last book. And it's a very moving moment. And the whole film...
Look, I have goosebumps.
She has goosebumps.
I seriously
literally.
do.
It's a good story. It feels good. I mean, there are some points where you're like, wow, that really happened. And it's about Cole, Kristen Stewart's character, has come from the Midwest, and she wants to do something bigger than herself, wants to find out meaning in the world. And Ali is a supposed jihadist who's doing the same thing, and he wants to be part of something bigger, and he does the wrong thing, and he winds up in Gitmo. And these two just clash and struggle and rub each other the wrong way, but at the end of the day, they collide, and it's a very big explosion, not literally, but it's a chemistry, and it works for me. The last scene actually made me cry, and I don't cry.
Wow.
Yeah. It was that touching. Like, you should watch it.
Like
it's on,
tears rolling down?
Like a tear rolled down my eye. My throat was hurting. Like I was.
Oh, because you really wanted.
I really
to
felt something, and
wow. And where did you watch this?
This was on Netflix. So.
I have never heard of this movie.
I haven't either.
I'm telling you, don't get YouTube Red. Stay away from YouTube Red and let the trailers play during your viewing on YouTube, and you'll find a lot of movies.
I don't have YouTube Red.
Yeah, so just watch. Just let the trailers, let commercials play during your music videos or whatever you're doing on YouTube.
I'm going to make an interjection here. That's going to take away from the serious tone of this. You do realize you have 2 movies on back-to-back weeks that have a plot device of not having the last chapter of a book.
Did not realize that.
Logan Lucky, one of the key scenes of the prison scene is them rioting because they don't have the last Game of Thrones book.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
And so they throw a riot as part of the distraction of them breaking out of prison. So
I didn't see that's a good connection. See, he caught that. I didn't get that. But
as soon as you said the Harry Potter thing,
it was subconscious.
But the ending though is just like she even writes in the book. He calls her Blondie because he doesn't know her real name, and she writes this thing in the book and says that, spoiler alert, I don't know if Snape's a good guy, but I know you are. And that right there, and the look on his face, I mean, he was hard, and you could see him trying to connect with the new guard walking the door, and the guy said, no, I'm not going to talk to you.
That's fascinating.
It's a great story.
For
and
those little Potterheads out there.
It's just, if you like Harry Potter,
and
you've read all the books, you have
to
watch this movie. Watch the movie. Camp X-Ray is my recommendation, and I say go for it. Watch it. Don't wait.
Can I ask you, did you say who directed it?
This was directed by Peter Sattler, who also wrote the screenplay, I believe, for it, or helped co-write it a little bit.
Okay. Cool.
So those are our picks of the week. We got Valerie with Love, Simon, X-Ray, and Spy. So, and with that, we are going to take a short break, and we will be right back. Hey, you. That's right. I'm talking to you. Insert your ad here. That's right. Ever wanted to become part of an ad? Ever have something that really wants to be shared and it's created and made by you? Well, this is your chance. Become part of the Cultural Stew advertising platform. Contact us today. See what we can do for you and what you can do for us. And welcome back. Today we are going to roll into our stew, and Valerie's going to take us away.
Now, of course, this was created by me. Film and its attempt to portray authentic relationships. Growing up, I wanted to fall in love like Harry and Sally did. And I wanted college friends like in The Big Chill. Basically, my life was a movie. But then you have those movies that come along that destroy everything you're thinking of and think, is this the way it's really going to be? So I was wondering what movies, it's different for everybody because everybody has these different experiences in life. So I didn't know if authenticity to your life, to my life or whatever, how they worked for you. So for instance, I didn't have a Blue Valentine moment, but that I can see the authenticity of that relationship and how it went sour. And Take This Waltz, that's the one that actually really hit it for me. And I didn't know if you guys had movies that you watched that really hit home for you, that were relevant to your life. Anything?
For falling in love or
anything, actually. I mean, if you watched something and you thought, oh my gosh, this is really kind of how it is, I would watch. I mean, I realize that that's not the way it is because of the money thing, but I used to watch Sex and the City just to feel like I had girlfriends around. I still watch A Family Stone around the holidays to make me feel like there are people around in my house. I know that sounds strange, but they become like friends to you in a way.
I'm not a huge family drama person.
Are you a drama?
I'll watch them. Am I a drama fan? Yes.
Okay.
I'll watch them, but they don't stick around in my head for very long. I mean, I typically will watch them once, and that's enough for me.
I think that's what a lot of people are like. Probably.
And it's not anything. It's not like digging up anything. It's just I don't feel a connection in a way. So maybe there hasn't been something that's dug in deep enough to make me want to keep coming back to it.
I used to watch an old one with Julianne Moore's Myth of Fingerprints, and there's a lot that goes on in that movie. But Julianne Moore's character, this is back when I was angry and didn't know why. So her character, I related to her character in a lot of ways, but not in all ways. But she was very angry in that movie, and I connected to it for some reason in my early 20s. And then Beautiful Girls was always this movie that because you're coming home to a small town, and I had that feeling. Sometimes when they hit too close, I can't watch them either. So,
and sometimes it's not like the full movie. Maybe it's just a part of it. Like there was something about even watching a movie's like Field of Dreams, the relationship that he never got to have with his father, and then that mythical ability, having the film and Kevin Costner being able to have that relationship with his father. It's just like, I mean, that touches on a way of me being able to want to have a good relationship with my father when I was a kid. And
sure.
So, I mean, little stuff like that touch, but
well, that counts.
I think Meyerowitz Stories was one of the most recent examples of something that I feel is really strong writing that grounds itself in reality. I think the writing in that was fantastic, but you have the kids dealing with the tension of the father, and dealing with this is what happens in the blowback of divorce. You don't really ever get too much of the other side of it. It's just from the father side and the kids trying to.
Nothing's good enough.
Nothing's good enough.
Well, one child is good enough.
I had this experience. Meyerowitz Stories is close to me, like Nebraska. It's one of the very few films that was not written by Alexander Payne and Jim Taylor. And I like Alexander a lot, so I watched it because he was directing it. And Nebraska is about basically a father and son, and how the son kind of humors his older father, and he's going on a trip to receive a prize for a sweepstakes that everyone knows is a scam and spam mail, but the father needs something going on in his life. So his son goes with him on a trip, and they go and get the prize, I guess. And it's about their relationship, them bonding together. And in a way that made me think about my father and my mother, and how when I was young, they would humor me and what I wanted to do. And like our parents always do, they humor our dreams and aspirations. And how at some point in my life, it's not humoring anymore. It's more like I need to look after my parents, and I need to make sure that I'm there for them. And they may want something so small, but it may be a lot for me, but I need to be willing to do the same thing. So Nebraska showed me, and that film came out in 2013, but it showed me that at some point in my life, I'm going to have to be there for my parents like they were for me. And that touched me a lot, because when you're my age, you don't really think about that. You don't think your parents are going to get older and die. You just think, oh, they're just getting older. And you realize the sacrifices your parents did make for you. And then you do realize that it's not a sacrifice you were making, it's that you love them, and that's why you're doing it. And that's what I got from that film.
I think it's interesting, the movies that I saw when I was young that I just kind of watched. And I think about them now as an adult, and think, oh my gosh, I really connect with that. Which, on Golden Pond, her relationship that she has with her father that goes back and forth. And the fact that she couldn't do, I think it was a back dive, and saying that she can do it, she's going to do it. And she felt like she wasn't good enough, that he wanted a son. And, you know, there's a lot of things, parents and children, the way that we perceive things compared to what the parents perceive, you know. So I thought it was interesting. I always felt like it was weird that Katharine Hepburn slapped her. I thought, why'd you do that? You know, because she sees it as a parent sees it. And she's looking at, you know, you're not seeing it because you're a child. You're not seeing everything the way you should, because you're being selfish and you're wanting a certain type of relationship, and that's not what you're getting. So there's a lot of movies that pull those types of things out of you, but I feel like a lot of those movies that make people they go to the movies to escape. A lot of people, I go to feel a lot sometimes, and sometimes when you feel too much, audiences do not
appreciate it.
They just, once is enough. They have gone through that feeling and they don't want to feel it again. If it's too real, they don't want to go through that.
It was interesting. I had a connection to Shakespeare in Love when it came out. Mm-hmm. I was entering into like my first romantic relationship, and it was at a time when I was actually being very creative and wanted to do more with that creativity. And I felt that there was somewhat of a connection with, you know, the struggling writer of Shakespeare trying to get his performance on, and him going through the real life relationship there. And I just like, for that's something I connected to. But it's so over dramatic that it's like, hey, it's not how much of that would actually happen in real life first.
Well, sure. But it's the movies that do come out at the exact same time that you're going through something. I think our interesting Shop Girl came out, and the relationship that she had in that movie with the older guy mirrored a relationship that I had just had. And it was, you know, it comes out and you're like, holy crap, I just had this type of relationship. So those are the types when you're like, sometimes I go to the movies just to see myself. But you just want to understand yourself more. And if you see something in a movie that reminds you of something you're going through or have gone through, or questioning how to do that, you watch a movie to see, oh, well, how did they do it? And sometimes they do it very wrong. Like August Osage County, I don't need that type of relationship. I don't need sparring. I don't need that type of stuff. But that was pretty real for a lot of people. So I think the escapism is what rules movies. People like to escape into another world. They want to fall in love like that, which kind of screwed me up, I'll admit. Growing up with movies that I want to love like that. I want a feeling like that. I want to do all this.
And I think that might lie in why I kind of come and go with family or these type of dramas that we're talking about right here, is just that I don't want to walk into somebody else's relationship and feel like I'm walking into, like, my neighbors walking into their door and seeing them splay out their life. It's just, sometimes it's just not interesting to me. And I think the movie we're going to talk about is a prime example of, like, this is not a family I would like to walk into and have to deal with all their shit, because we have our own shit. And it may be at the core as to why I kind of avoid these films in general sometimes. But that movie is
The Squid and the Whale, which I'm glad we picked, by the way, over the other one, which I don't even remember what it was.
High Fidelity, I think it was.
Oh, gosh, I'm so glad we picked this one. So glad.
You're welcome.
So, I mean, I still recommend High Fidelity. Read the book first, though. Anyway, but The Squid and the Whale. Wow. The opening lines of this movie, because they're about to start playing tennis, but you don't see that, is Mom and Me versus You and Dad. Bam. And then they open up to have this tennis match. But that is a lot of, that already hit me. And like, I was like, oh yes, it's very, very similar. It's a movie, it takes place in Park Slope, Brooklyn, 1989. And it has Laura Linney and Jeff Daniels and a young
Jesse.
Thank you, Jesse Eisenberg, and the
Oscar winner Rogue, Anna Paquin.
Mm-hmm. She's in there too. She is in there. And the younger brother, somebody have his name? He deserves to have his name mentioned. He was very good, and I will get it there in 1 second. His name
Keep going, I'll get it. Keep going.
Oh my gosh. Frank? Is it Owen Klein? It's Owen Klein. Oh, and we also have a young Gish, William Baldwin, in this movie. Ivan, the tennis player. So these two are going through a divorce. This movie reminded me a lot of a movie that I'll get to, that has people that I'll get to. My brain is not working. It's the dad who's a writer and a child that idolizes him, and to the point where it's nauseating. The dad is he wrote something, but he is not famous for it anymore. And anybody who is famous, he finds some type of issue with. I mean, he says Tale of Two Cities is one of the minor works. You know, he talks like that. He's so egotistical. He's so narcissistic.
Even things like that come up in the Meyerowitz stories.
Yes,
you know, written
that's
by
what I'm
the
saying.
same guy.
He's a sculptor, but he doesn't do that anymore.
Constantly, the father's constantly.
They say that they basically put Jeff Daniels, and he grew older, and then he's Dustin Hoffman in that movie to link those two together because. But they're going through, he and Laura Linney, who's, you know, I love Laura Linney, are going through divorce and a parent that shares too much about the other parent, I feel. Him saying, oh, she had an affair for 4 years. Oh, I thought you knew that, to a young child.
Well, he's the outlet, so he's venting / just letting it all out, and he's trying to have sides taken.
And he's definitely putting himself up on a pedestal to make himself look better. But everything he does to put himself on a pedestal ends up pushing his sons further away from him.
Correct.
I mean, even his relationship with Anna Paquin, who is in his class.
Mm-hmm. His student, yes.
Yeah.
It's his student who he gives
20-year-old.
Yeah. She's looking for a place, and he has a room open, so she moves in. And, of course, his son, who's 18, 19.
16.
Not even 16, 17.
Oh, is he? Sorry.
Yeah.
Falls for her. After he has his own girlfriend, who is lovely, although they kiss, and she's trying to help him learn how to kiss, so she's guiding him.
He was too far in.
Yeah, but then he looks at her, he's like, you have too many freckles.
Well, he's acting like his dad.
He's so finding fault in everything, and you're above everything. He drove me crazy.
He's his dad. He was mimicking his dad and taking what his dad was teaching him, indirectly or directly.
It drove me insane, but he does.
That's what I just said.
When he takes his kids, because that happens, you take the kids to your apartment to show them around. I thought that was pretty realistic.
I hate Nastasi. You know that. I even met Nastasi and said he was an asshole.
Well, I couldn't find Vita Scarolitis.
I have a
But yeah, when you're a kid and you go over to see the other, and in my case, it was my dad's house. It wasn't my house. It was his house or his apartment.
And It was interesting how Jeff Daniels set that up too, because he's like, oh yeah, I've got a house on the other side of here, and it's the filet of the neighborhood. It's like, well, no, if that's the filet of the neighborhood, I don't want to see what the neighbor's house looks like, because it was pretty rundown and trash, but that was the situation he ended up in.
Well, yeah, and the fact there are big fights that come down at the end, where they're getting to. He finds out that Laura Linney calls Jeff Daniels' father, just to kind of say goodbye. She loved him. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where you kind of let the other in-law know what's going on and that you cared about them. That was very real to me, because my parents cared about their in-laws, have had deep feelings for them. And so for some reason he took that as there's hope in our relationship, when
there was none.
There was none. He put her down. He never supported her. It was all about him. Everything was about him. He drove me insane. Just listening to him say things. Just, I don't know.
I think Noah based the father on his own. I mean, this is based on his own life. I've heard it in several interviews. So,
oh gosh, when he's in the hospital at the end, because he has a heart attack or ish, and then he says, "I want you to stay here with me all day." And then
I think a good thing that the film does is really actually shows like what happens to the kids,
right?
How much it actually ends up affecting them.
It really does.
And you have the scene where they get called into the principal's office.
Yeah.
So they get called into the principal's office for something that the younger son is doing that is quite disgusting and disturbing. But, they go into the principal's office and she points out, like, hey, what's going on?
He did get left behind.
He got left
for 3
behind.
days for both of them.
But the dad actually tunes in with like, hey, maybe it has something to do with us being divorced.
Which is ridiculous. I just feel like, let's blame the divorce when actually you just left your son home for 3 days. However, she may have called to make sure he was coming to get, nobody checked in. Of course, this was also 89. I'm not sure if people were that, up each other's butts for that kind of thing. But yeah, the kid ends up drinking because he starts having a drinking habit early on. Anyway, he's 10 years old.
I was kind of shocked at the scene when Jeff Daniels comes to the window and he turns around and the kid's got the beer. That never got brought up.
No.
I know. A lot of things don't get brought up.
And I don't know if that just plays into Jeff's character of just not seeing that in his kids, that he was always trying to see above that. I don't know.
I thought
it was just a weird thing to me that like even like the way they filmed it and he's holding the can, it's like it would have been completely visible for.
Maybe he just didn't care. I mean, that's how I read it and that's how I saw it. That he's.
I felt that was interesting, and what to make of it. I guess when Jesse Eisenberg's character goes to see a therapist, and they talk about the Squid and the Whale, and he talks about his mother in the happy memories of his life. He talks about his mother and how she made him feel good about it, better about life. Never speaks about his dad, which I thought was interesting. And then at the end of the movie, when he goes in and his father's acting like, do this for me, do this for me, do this for me. And then he realizes all at once, it's like, oh, it's all about you.
Well, he realizes that his mom has always been there for him, too. Like, during the therapy session, he realizes that his mom has been his happy place, and his mom has always cared about him, and his dad's been... It's like the first time his dad's not there to interject or force his feelings and thoughts and
say he's better
on him. Yeah.
Anyway, overall, I really enjoyed the movie just because I loved the writing and I liked the feelings, and because I hated Jeff Daniels so much, I thought he was written well. So, yeah. Did you like it?
It's not a bad movie. I mean, I've seen Noah's career and his writing progressing, mature over time. And again, this was in his period of his life where he was still trying to find his real voice. I mean, he had done, I think, The Life Aquatic a year previous to that. So he had worked with Wes Anderson. And I think working with Wes helped him see more of a family dynamic. And he came out with this after that. And he's been doing things ever since. I mean, I like his writing a lot. Meyerowitz Stories was one of my favorite things he's ever done.
I loved Meyerowitz Stories. As I said, I mean, with this film, I could come or go with it. I'll probably never ever watch it again. It's like walking in. I knew several kids growing up that were going through divorces, and I luckily was not one of them. And so this doesn't hit home to me in any level, and it feels like I was walking into one of those, like, I'm the awkward kid walking into two parents fighting that aren't together anymore, and their kids are, you're hearing it from the kid's side of the story.
Was this uncomfort for you, or just not?
It's just not anything there. I was interested in really watching. I mean, I wouldn't have watched this based off of the synopsis by myself.
Okay.
It did pretty well on the scene, on the film scene. Okay. I mean, got some awards and stuff. So, I mean,
I'm not saying it's a bad film. I'm just saying, going back to our topic, it's just not something that, I wouldn't walk into my neighbor's house on purpose to watch them go through a divorce and and
you're not like a life. Well, you are, because you're a theater person. Theater is, I mean, just how we get through life, watching people go through difficult situations and how they dealt with them.
Not all theater is.
No, I know that.
I know, I'm just saying. But yeah, a lot of theater is not. I think lately it's been more like August Osage County made it okay to have these verbal spars and volleys back and forth. But before then, theater's kind of softer, more gentle. I think over time, theater's gotten more raw and edgy dialogue-wise, and more fierce and aggressive. And it's not a bad thing. I mean, theater's...
It could be that I spend so much time in the theater that I'm constantly getting fed this, that it's not something I will purposely go out and seek.
Well, Shakespeare himself, I mean, Shakespeare was dealing
I'm not a huge Shakespeare fan.
Okay, well, I was just saying, Shakespeare is always looking at life and its characters.
Oh, I don't want to get this, but we'll continue, sorry.
What?
Being a playwright, Shakespeare, I respect the work, but not the man. Sometimes I think...
I didn't know him.
Yeah. It's
we did not cross.
you weren't buddies?
We didn't cross paths. So
having him fed down my throat in theater class and being a major graduate, you get fed him a lot. And he's an idea poacher. Most of his plays are based on other,
which I've heard,
stories, and we all do that. But to call him original and whatnot, it's not really fair to people who actually are, like Henrik Ibsen and not Shaw.
But I grew up in, this is when I was, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Okay. I respect Shakespeare a lot. I just do. I just feel like sometimes people give him way too much accolades for something that he had a lot of help with. But moving on.
I was not giving him accolades. I was mentioning him as a couple of things.
I know you weren't, but yeah, it's rough.
I'm just going to kick your ass after this.
It's okay.
Just letting you know.
If you haven't told, we don't get along at all.
No.
And that wraps up today's stew. Next week, we are going to be talking about preying upon your childhood nostalgia, and we are going to all go see Ready Player One at some point this week. I'm looking forward to it, as that is Spielberg's next film. And I'm excited for this one.
This is cool because we all read the book or the screenplay.
I read the book a long time ago. I'll probably reread it this week sometime. It was a long time ago. I'm only 32.
I know the fact that you're like, I'm just going to reread it. You're like one of those Harry Potter. I'm just going to just read the whole thing of Harry Potter over this last week. I like to read.
I like to watch.
I like to listen.
So, what's on your radar and queue there, Tony?
Let's see. This week I watched Hologram for the King. That's Tom Hanks. It was written and directed by Tom type were. It's a David Eggers novel. I mean, I guess you can watch it on a rainy day. It wasn't that exciting. It was kind of slow burn for me. The music was awesome. I listen to music a lot. Like when I'm running or working on things around the house, you can hear the music soundtrack blasting. But the movie was just kind of, It's about a guy who goes to Saudi Arabia and tries to reinvent himself in his career and doesn't really, but he finds more of a purpose. So if you're not in a hurry and you want to just watch something that Tom Hanks is in, you can watch that. That's on Amazon. I also had the chance to watch the Young Vic's production of A Doll's House, which was on a digital theater. It's a subscription-based web service where you can watch theater performances from London and the UK. Pretty snazzy. The set was kind of cool. Revolves around, so you can see different parts of the house, Nora's house. A Doll's House is basically about a woman who forges her husband's signature to write a check and to get him well, to get him feeling better for his health. And it comes back to bite her many years later. It's written in the 1800s. Henrik Ibsen wrote it, and I thought it was pretty good.
I just shot that for Nazareth College this past season.
How was it?
It's good.
Did they use the updated version, or did they use the traditional Ibsen?
Traditional.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a beautiful set. It was all wrought iron cast work.
Nice. Pride. Awesome. And I'm going to be watching Roseanne Season 2's premiere this Tuesday or Monday, one of those days. But I'll be watching that because I love Roseanne. And I'll be finishing up The Last Tycoon as well on Amazon.
How about you, Valerie?
You've
had a busy week with...
I watched randomly. Here I was going to finish up some stuff. Had all these things on my list. And then all at once I saw Absentia. Is that how you're going to say it? I think that's...
Is that the one on Amazon?
Yeah. Absentia.
Abstentia?
No, it's not. Absentia.
Abstentia.
Yeah. No, it's
Absentia.
not Stentia.
Absentia.
It's Sentia. Okay. Anyway, I watched that on Amazon. I'll write a review about it. It's... Okay, so I watched the whole thing. It kept me going, but it was somewhat ridiculous, but it worked for me for the week. Those I want to be a little bit intrigued, but I don't want to think, those kinds of shows. So yeah, an FBI agent that lost 6 years of her life, and she's trying to find the person that kidnapped her, and it's a crazy, crazy thing. But I'll write a thing. It was okay. I'm still wanting to go see The Dinner. Is that what it's called? The Dinner?
The Dinner, is that with John Lithgow in it? And
No, the one that's out right now. The Party.
The
Party. That's what
playing at the Little.
I need to, and I'm still, people, I need to finish Man in the High Castle. I just need to get it done. So
just do it.
That's what I'm going to be focusing on this week.
Awesome. I finished up Sneaky Pete season 2. Loved that show. I thought it was great.
A friend that started it, she likes it a lot.
I don't know if there's going to be a season 3. It took 3 years 2 years or 3 years in between the two seasons. So I don't know if there's going to be another year, but it finished on a good enough note that, like, if they didn't do another year, you'd be fine with it. But I'd love to see another year of it because it was just good. It's good, smart writing. Also just started watching the new show on, I think, NBC, Rise, with Josh Radnor. It's really good. I want to say High School Musical, but it's about an English teacher who takes over the play they were doing, Grease, the High School Musical, and completely dissembles the department and has them doing Spring Awakening and all the background drama of that. Now that is something I feel is relatable of when we, in high school, we were supposed to be doing West Side Story, didn't have enough guys, and so they ended up doing Into the Woods. And because we did Into the Woods, that's why I stayed in theater. Because the year before, our first show was The Wiz. And I said, this has got to be the stupidest thing I've ever decided to do in my life. And if they had done West Side Story, I probably wouldn't have stuck around after that. But the fact that we did Into the Woods was like, wow, it's smart. I love it. And I stayed in theater ever since.
Cool.
Jack White's new album, Boarding House Reach, came out. I was really excited for this, and I'm not going to give it high praise. It's a lot different than his usual stuff, but kind of sad. I've been listening to Pod Save America podcast. A lot of political stuff happening lately that is of great importance. And I think the guys that are running the Pod Save America have been hitting it on the head. And when they bring in politicians and actually ask them the down and dirty questions and kind of run with it, but there's a little bit of snark in the way they present it. So it's like, yeah, this is what we need in our time. Of course, we're looking forward to Ready Player One. Isle of Dogs is sadly not anywhere here until April 14th.
Really? Little didn't get it?
Nope.
Sad.
It's on limited release until April 14th. So that was going to be the one I wanted to watch this week, but I had to wait until Wednesday when everybody came out with who was playing what this week, and they were not on it. And, of course, Billions starts tonight, so I'll probably watch that tomorrow.
What starts tonight?
Billions. It's the one with, I talked about that last week with Paul Giamatti and Damian Lewis. It is a pretty cool show. It's on Showtime.
Oh, I don't get Showtime.
And Timeless Season 2, Episode 3 is on tonight, so woo-woo.
Well, that wraps up our show for today. Tony, where can we find you?
I'm on Twitter at SMTORCHIO, and I'm all over Facebook.
You're all over Facebook.
I am, actually.
Okay. I'm on Twitter at PennyLane64 and Instagram. I mean, I'm on Facebook, but I'm not on it very much, so not a good place for me.
And as always, you can find me as at GFMedia or at GFMedia CEO pretty much anywhere. And you can find us at culturalstew.net, at culturalstewnet on Twitter, or Cultural Stew on Facebook.
But you could like us on Facebook. That'd make us happy.
You could. The intro and break music is Please Listen Carefully by Jahzzar, available through the Creative Commons license from Free Music Archive. The outgoing music is provided by Epidemic Sound. Please see our show notes for details on what the outgoing song is and who it is by. And also, as always, if you have a piece of music that you'd like us to play or consider playing, please contact us today. Like what you've heard? Want to continue to hear more? Please consider Patreon. What is Patreon, you ask? Patreon is a content creator support site, a way for people to support the things they love and allow creators to continue creating the content that they love. Please consider heading over to patreon.com/GFmedia and becoming a Patreon supporter today.